to Romantic Wednesdays with Poetry. So, I'm Alisa Agnes, your host, and I believe it's time to get real and spill some tea or coffee. So today I will talk about a totally new cycle, the eighth one. It's called Black Forest, Deep Forest, and it's simply about Renaissance and writer who was actually the first Polish writer who started, writing in Polish. His name was Jan Kochanowski, and he lived in such a village which was called Czarnolas, and it literally sounds like Black Forest. So it's not about a cake, which I really love, though, but it's about simply, a literary kind of thing. So you kind of know what to expect in this cycle right now. So I guess it's time to read the first poem, which is called Kochanowski, and later I will tell you a few words about this writer and about this poem, and later about the second title, Renaissance, and you will learn more about the second title, and it will be the end of this episode. So that's Kochanowski. This is not just a trifle or a fancy kind of game. That's the creator of the Polish language, departure from the Latin. That's the creator of the national poetry. He won't get over without feelings. That's John Kochanowski. It's not a lame thing. Mita is waiting by the tree. In the hands of hers, all books and knowledge and fun. Well, that's the basis. Honey wine, let it flow. So yeah, that's Kochanowski. And as I've already mentioned, it's about the 16th century kind of stuff. And Jan Kochanowski was a very important person in Polish culture, because he was the first one who kind of created the Polish language, such a written form of Polish language. Because when it comes to such things like grammar, it was created in 18th century, and we have 16th century, and and he is believed to be the first writer who actually created the written Polish language. So it's such a very important person for Poles, just like Shakespeare to English people. And you'll learn more about this in the next poem. So that's all that I can tell you about just the comparison between Kochanowski and Shakespeare. Well, the second, or actually third part of this poem is a little reference to his books. Lame has a double meaning in this poem, because it's simply about the tree in the first place. But I turned this line, it's not a lame thing, in such a funny way. And that tree that appears in his poetry really existed, and I really saw what was left from this tree when I went to Czarnolas a few years ago, and it was a very inspiring to be there, and I wrote first two lines of this poem back then, this is not just a trifle or a fancy kind of game. And obviously I wrote it in such a old-fashioned kind of manner, which felt like 16th century Polish language. And it was 2019, and later I had also more knowledge from studies, and I just felt like it's a right thing to write something more right here. And my study simply led to writing this whole poem, and I decided to add this little trifle in this poem. And well, what more can I say? Mita is a name that I created, and it's simply the metaphor of the girl who has books of knowledge in her hands, but it's also about fun, because Renaissance was, very much about antique times, and one of such favorite things that Kochanowski was, liked to write about was, such, let's say, parties and wine, and such a kind of honey which was possible to drink, and it's a very typical kind of thing. When I think about old Polish days, it was this kind of alcohol that was stronger than wine and beer, and I just felt like this kind of reference also fits to this poem. So that's all that I can tell you about Kochanowski, and right now I'd like to introduce you to the second poem, which is called Renaissance, and after that I will tell you more about the revival and other writers I compare Kochanowski to. So yep, that's Renaissance. There's no melody without poetry. Rebirth and birth, culture, art and language. A new path then, a new branch now. Cherubs, violets, cupids. The idea of life and enchanted beauty. In stone and marble safe. Daphne fountain, Orpheus lyre. They are reborn every century. Charnolars will not pass away. The black forest lives in us. Black mental was and will be, hidden on the thief. What was, will be. Kochanowski, our Polish Shakespeare. Mickiewicz, Polish Lord Byron. Two masters, they are not too far away from each other. Revival is only changing its forms. So yeah, that's the second poem, which is called Renaissance, and as you can see, it's not only about Jan Kochanowski, but it's also about just that period of time, 16th century. But it's also about just the idea of revival, because as you probably know, Renaissance was the time when after 10 centuries of Middle Ages, the ideas of the antique times were reborn, and they came back to the culture and literature. And it happened not only in Polish literature, I guess, and it just felt like the idea of revival is something that happened more than once in our history. And And I mentioned here Adam Mickiewicz was a writer from the Romanticism era, and I already told you, a lot about him in previous podcast episodes, and I compare him to Lord Byron because it will make you understand who he was to us Poles this way. Just like I compared Kochanowski to Shakespeare. When you think of what Shakespeare and Lord Byron meant to English, then you will understand what these two people, Kochanowski and Mickiewicz, meant to Poles. So, I also compare these two people from the 16th and 19th century because I feel like what happened in Romantic era was also a kind of revival, because they were fascinated about Middle Ages. So it's like those old times always come back in some kind of way and form, and I feel like we call Renaissance also a revival, and I feel like this name actually fits to more places, not just 16th century. And I just wrote this poem all about this idea of of cultural phenomena which eventually come back. And I mentioned here such very typical things which appear in the Renaissance and in the antique culture. And I also mentioned here charnolas and black metal, which is another poem of mine. And I will tell you more about the idea of black metal in the nearest future. I feel like that's all that I can tell you about this poem today. I hope you understand what I wanted to say, right in this poem. And if you have any questions, you can always ask me on my social media. Just search for Alisa Agnes. You can find me literally everywhere. X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. So if you have any questions, if you like to learn something more about maybe Kochanowski or Polish Renaissance, then I'd be happy to tell you a few more words about this. In the end, I studied Polish literature and language, and as you probably already know, I have a master's title. So feel free to ask me if there's something more you'd like to learn. So I guess that's all today, and I will come back next week and you will learn more about black metal then, and about the poem which is called Prophet. So it will be still about Middle Ages, Renaissance, and also a romantic kind of stuff. And I hope you like this very, I guess, very cultural kind of poetry, which are inspired by my studies, and I guess it's not hard to see. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you tune in next week, and until next time. Yep. Bye.